Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of Best Case Scenario, actually relabeled as of recently to Best Case Studio podcast. It's harder to monetize Best Case Scenario since it's a common phrase, so I'm told. So we have rebranded to Best Case Studio, and this will be the Best Case Studio podcast moving forward. And thank you again for tuning in. You've clicked on the thumbnail, you've clicked on the podcast episode, and I appreciate that very much. Today is a special day with a special guest. I am pleased to have with me here in studio Savige Mungquee. Thank you for joining me.
How's it going, buddy?
It's going well.
Good.
I'm really happy you took the time to come over here and have this conversation. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, it should be cool.
I'm not sure what's about to come out of your mouth, but
Yeah.
That's what I love about you. You know,
Cool.
That's what I love about you. Savige Mungquee, do you trust our government?
Not since I was a wee lad.
Really?
Yeah. I've been down the rabbit hole since I was in high school, maybe earlier, really. And they've been in it for themselves or for the New World Order for all of our lives, for sure. And if you really look at it, if you go way back, it was kind of set up to be this a new country for sure. They were going to try and rape it of all its resources and make as much money as they could off of it. I think from the very beginning, some even question whether we really cut our ties with England 250 years ago, because they're all up in our business. And as what's been in the news lately, you can see for sure that we kiss the ring or the ass of Israel at every chance we get. And that's bad news.
So you said since high school, you would just consider that kind of your awakening moment, but this has been going on for many, many, many years?
Yeah, it's, I probably couldn't have labeled it. I graduated in the 70s, and I probably couldn't have labeled it as such back then, but I've certainly been a contrarian my entire life, and I have a very difficult time with being given directions by someone who I feel is intellectually inferior. And I've told many a person to fuck off.
Yeah, as you should.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Today in America, especially the Utes, the boys have been castrated and the girls have been emasculated, and it's no wonder, that there's so many boys into their 20s, maybe even 30s, living in mama's basement, playing video games, getting food delivered, and being very obese. And like I said, the emasculating of the girls and the transgender myth, has been portrayed onto them, put onto them by the teachers, the NEA, the big unions. It's not that we need to spend more money on education. We just need to get the collective bargaining out of it, because they definitely have an agenda to, make the kids vegetables.
Is that just for like an increased power control?
That's part of it. The big thing is they envision a world population of like 500 million or something like that, and by getting the chicks not to want to have babies and getting the boys not interested in girls, works for them perfectly. I think the birth rate in America right now is like 1.4, and it needs to be like 2.2 or better to sustain a society. So, like right now, as an example, in Korea, in Japan, they won't be here in 50 years because their birth rate is even lower than ours. And with all that's going on, we're headed for that same scenario of not being able to sustain the society through birth.
So then how does that like serve the elites with a diminished world population? Or like why would they want that?
Because they envision, us becoming AI connected. They envision, what is it? Is it cyborgs that are part human and part computer?
Yep.
I think they think that that's going to be the scenario, and that that's just a more manageable number. For them, there's too many consumers, too many eaters, too many people on government benefits type of a thing. And, that just means inevitably money out of their pocket.
So it's like doing away with the peasants so the elite can live as long as they want to.
And, with the way AI is coming along, 70%, maybe more, of jobs are going to be done by robots, computers, mechanical means. I mean, like, look at the auto industry of, say, Ford, where there was men running around everywhere, and now, there's all these reticulating arms of computers or machines and stuff that do the heavy lifting. And there is something to the computers they're not error free, but their errors are reduced to humans. So there is something to it, and it's possible that they may even come up with a what's it called, a global income type of thing, where they're going to pay you to stay home. And of course, that money will be, one, barely enough to get you by, and two, the social credit score will for sure be involved with that. If you post like right now in this country, and for sure in the EU and England, you can't criticize Israel, and in this country too. But if you say a bad meme, they can coming forth, no more gasoline for you, no more beef for you, whatever, for the month or something like that. The penalties will be, minimal to start, I would hope, and then they'll graduate as you have multiple infractions.
Right.
So the best way to avoid it is own land, own gold, and for us poor people, silver is poor man's gold. And get you some land and learn how to grow shit.
Yeah. Make your own food.
Yeah, and try and stay off of the government buying you off.
So you brought up a few things. Universal basic income. I mean,
right.
Are you in favor, not in favor? Tough subject as far as
it is
defining
a tough subject. I think, especially for poor people, a check is a check.
Sure.
But if there's all these strings attached, then, you have to judge, is it worth it type of a thing. And I learned a thing 30, 40 years ago, and that is you got to look yourself in the mirror every day, and we may brush our hair and brush our teeth and be standing in front of a mirror, but do you really look at yourself and into your soul of, I'm not going to kiss anybody's ass today. I'm not going, I'm going to stick to my principles today. You got to be able to live with the man in the glass. And that's critical. So as far as the income goes, I don't think there's going to be a scenario without strings attached. So I would say that I am against it.
And it sounds like you're kind of touching on like a personal pride with, you can take a check and exist, or you can actually be a proactive member of society and contribute something with your time and energy.
No, I'm more in favor of getting out of a fucking society.
Okay.
And, the idea of communism, if you really look at the base of that, living communally, where, say 5 or 6 families or 10 families or whatever get 40, 80 acres together, and one family raises pigs, and one family raises cows, and one family has chickens, and one lady is good at gardening, and that lady's not necessarily really great at canning, but the lady next door is. That type of a communal situation where you're all invested in each other's well-being, and that includes defensively as well, that I think that's a pretty good idea. I personally could probably, and I have thought of this definitely since high school, of give me 10 acres at the top of a mountain and I'll figure it out. Even to this day, I would do that, where I would just go and figure it out.
Yeah.
I've got enough knowledge, and especially, like with Starlink, and we can get into the Elon shit about whether it's whether he's the Grand Inquisitor, or whether he's really interested in society's well-being. But when you can find anything you want pretty much on YouTube as far as a how-to goes.
Yeah.
I mean, and you might not have all the tools or the raw materials to do everything, but you could figure out how to do it, and then you go out on scavenger trips to find what you need.
Yeah. You might be pleasantly surprised if you consider me part of the youth. I think the youth, younger people of today, also agree with the communal aspect of living, and really seek that out. And I know, like, my friends and I have talked about building a community where everybody watches each other's backs and everybody contributes their own part of the system to each other, to where nobody goes without because you're in there. And then of course the classic saying of it takes a village, so then the kids of the community get raised by all different kinds of views of the world and expertise and each couple's own experience in life. And
the critical part of that is the vetting before
who you let in. Yeah.
And you have to not be concerned about some crying bitch that says her kid's in the hospital and she needs $5, or whatever.
Yeah.
You can't just let in everybody.
Like out of charity.
Yeah. You have to bring something to the table. And it may just be that you'll go out and shuck corn, or you'll go out and cut the hay so that the cows have something in the winter, type of a deal.
Mm-hmm.
And that is certainly contributing. But yeah, and as far as you're not quite, I think you're out of youth.
Okay.
I think you're out of youth. You are a young person. And it's, it's weird. There is probably more conservative young people today than there was in 2020 even, just because they realize that the pandemic was a complete fucking scam, and that that was, the virus itself was never going to kill very many people. It was the vaccine that was going to take people out. And just for the record, I've been an anti-vaxxer for over 30 years. Just as a sidebar, my first granddaughter was born in our back bedroom with a midwife, and she never got any vaccines under my watch, and she's relatively healthy. She is a tranny because the school got a hold of her, but yeah.
Separate event there.
Yeah, that's a whole nother deal.
Yeah.
I think homeschooling,
Mm-hmm.
Everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people are intimidated by that idea, and I think that there's enough conservative places around the country that you could get a good, honest curriculum from, that you could do it. The big thing is that you got to have your shit starting to be together. I was a hardcore drinker into my 50s and partying. Me and my wife, my best drinking buddy. Drinking was part of the day. I mean, it didn't cause us to miss any meals or miss any mortgage payments or anything like that. But matter of fact, just yesterday when you and your woman took off going around, I was thinking, oh, this would have been a drinking day for me and Cork.
Just hanging out?
Just going, just, going on an adventure.
Oh, I see.
Going on an adventure and, having a good lunch somewhere and doing the few little errands we needed to do. But, either taking a cooler with us or, start with a 40 somewhere down the road. I logged many a mile, thousands of miles drinking and driving.
Pretty good at it?
Evidently. Oh, I got one for you.
Okay.
So back in the day, this would have been mid 80s. Cable wasn't a huge thing yet. It was there, but richer people kind of had to have it, and or older people, and so this one buddy from work, he lived at home, and his they had cable, and he's like, yeah, there's, before MMA, they had PK, is it kickboxing anyway?
Oh, okay.
Kickboxing on, and so it's like, oh, that'd be cool. So we go over to his house. This is after we got off at like 2:00 in the morning. Go over to his house, and it was in between Christmas and New Year, and he had gotten a bottle of wild turkey for Christmas, and I wasn't a wild turkey guy, but that didn't stop me. And so I probably had,
Oh no.
I don't know, 5 or 6 plus 5 or 6 beers, and about 3:30, the room's spinning, and it's like, I'm gonna go lay down. So I go and lay down, and then I had to be like 40 miles away at 6:00 to take my wife to work. So I get in the car, and the car was a 66 Dodge station wagon that I had taken home a bunch of ink from work, and in the parking lot of the apartment complex, me and the 2 kids and the wife painted it kind of Partridge Family style, and Corky put a big old butterfly on the hood, so it was known as the Butterfly Mobile. And so I'm going down the road, and those big arrows that put you on the other side of the road,
Yep.
and then down a little ways there's another set of arrows that put you back where you're supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I made it through the first one,
Oh no.
but I didn't make it through the second one.
You go in the ditch?
Well, I put that arrow thing like 200 feet down the road, caved the door in so far that the dent was past the inside of the steering wheel.
Oh.
And so this is the 80s, no cell phones. It's 4:30 in the morning or whatever, and this guy in a pickup truck comes along, and I don't know how he did it, but somehow he got the law out there. And the law was so cool back in the day. Guy comes out, sits me in the back seat, does all his checking and everything. And
You got a reek of booze at this
I got
point.
a reek of booze. I've had a wreck. He never asked me about drinking. And he's asking me some questions. Final question, are you hurt? And it's like, now that you mention it, my side really hurts, from where the door got caved in. So ambulance comes. I end up spending 3 days in the hospital because I got blood in my piss.
Whoa.
Yeah. So that was one of my few not being a good driver when I was drinking.
Corky didn't make it to work that day.
She did make it to work, but she had to walk.
Oh no.
Yeah. So, but when she found out I was in the hospital, she eased up.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good grief. You bring up a lot of things that I would love to touch on.
Yeah.
I want to go back to homeschooling real quick. How do you, because my personal fear with like the thought of homeschooling, or you hear somebody else is being homeschooled, is like, what's the differentiation between like homeschooling and indoctrinating your own kids with like a filtered set of beliefs that you personally might have? How do you
I don't have a problem with that because I know that my beliefs are right.
Okay.
You know,
So you just send it.
Yeah. Now I think as far as getting interaction with other children, get them on one of the sports teams.
More socialization.
Yeah, for the socialization. Sports team or chess club or science club or whatever it is. Just some sort of after school activity that's not going to be as rigid, you know, with indoctrination going on. You know, it's going to be that kid's special interest, you know, and it could be the Scouts, it could be, you know, and of course these days you got to watch out for the Scouts because there's pedo in them weeds. But yeah, I think you can filter that, you know, and at least, you know, get them on one of the sports team at the school that they would have been going to.
Right.
And you know, kids are brutal, so, you know, the homeschool kids are probably going to get a ration, but you know, it's kind of I highly recommend a martial art at a young age, you know, to start at a young age.
I agree.
And you know, not to be an aggressive person, but to be a take absolutely no shit person.
What's the saying? It's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war.
Exactly.
It's like have the tools, but you know when to use them, kind of thing.
Same with guns.
Yeah.
I'd rather have one and not need it.
So did you talk about kind of like this snowball began in high school? Did something happen, like event-wise or even at school, that started to like awaken you to the reality?
I just remember even in grade school that the punishment doesn't fit the crime type of a deal. Like, you know, back when I went to school, there were whacks on the ass involved. And although I didn't get many of them,
that's surprising.
It is surprising, but I don't know why. But I did write a lot of fucking sentences as far as like, I will not interrupt. I will, you know, whatever it was, and you know, will not be disturbing others or talking out of turn or whatever it was. And well, even in high school too, I had a time where I'd had a beef with this coach / gym teacher, and I always took gym because it was an easy A and it'd bring up the GPA, which I wasn't necessarily, you know, most of that had to do with not being interested in, because it was just, no one was compelling me to be interested in the shit they were putting down, you know. But I was like 2 minutes late to a gym class. That's 15 minutes after class, or after school. And I skipped that. And because I skipped that, that turned into 30, and, you know, got to where it got up to an hour. And he's like, I'm going to send you to the principal. And I'm like, fucking send me, you know. And this is how it was. They get me up there. They call my mother in, and my mother sitting right next to me and goes, I can't believe you. And I'm like, well, I tell you what, fuck off. And I got up and walked out.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, walked out on the principal and the my mother, and ended up getting like a week vacation out of the deal. Never did have to do the time after class.
That's quite the reward
for
behavior.
And, you know, I was in a organization called Young Life. You ever heard of that? It's a Jesus gang, you know, and I misbehaved even in that too. But I was real interested in cars at the time and thought I was going to become a mechanic. And one of the leaders, and the leaders were like maybe 20 to 25-year-olds, type of a thing. And one of the leaders' father owned a tranny shop, so I got to go hang out down there for a couple of days and, get my hands a little bit dirty.
That's probably fun.
Yeah. So it was, it was great for me, I mean, like, you think you're hurting me? I mean, like,
this is great.
So yeah, I just, went back to class or went back to school when it was over and nothing was said. And, just kept going, trying to get out of, trying to graduate.
Yeah.
When I was going and in my family, dropping out, I never thought of it really, even if I graduated 600th out of 1,000, we had almost 1,000 people in my class.
Damn.
Yeah, it was a big school.
Yeah. So I'm sure there was plenty of dropouts around you.
There probably were, but they were all the long hairs,
Yeah.
And even though I smoked every day, at that time, I wasn't considered a long hair because I did sports. And matter of fact, it reminds me, my senior year, I ran track again and would skip, I guess it was 7th hour. 7th hour was the end of the day. I would skip 7th hour English. Me and 2 other buddies would go. Back at that time, you could drink when you were 18, and would go to the, not the liquor store, but the 7-Eleven. And Miller Ponies was these little grenades, 7 ounces, little small things, and would pound, split one with somebody, would pound down like 4 in 45 minutes, and then go back and run track.
Were they super strong because they were small?
No, it was just Miller, like Miller High Life.
Yeah.
But it's so funny too, because when I, before I went to Germany, I was a big Miller guy. And when I came, of course, when I was over there, I didn't drink anything American. And then when I come back, I couldn't handle Miller. And so I ended up then being a, 40-year Budweiser guy or Anheuser-Busch.
So what did Budweiser have that Miller didn't?
Miller had a headache.
Oh.
Miller had a headache.
Okay.
Miller gave me a headache.
And that was only after Germany?
Only after Germany.
Huh.
Yeah,
That's
I drank
interesting.
shitloads of Miller prior to going.
Uh-huh.
And, I mean, that was my drink. And just when I got back, I couldn't hang.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Are there any telltale signs to spot like intellectual inferiority?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Is it what they say?
Absolutely. And some of them wear it on their sleeve.
Uh-huh.
Some of them cloak it pretty well. But yeah, it definitely has to do with opening their mouth, and just their twisted way of thinking and, their logic or lack of,
Sure.
on doing stuff, that, yeah, I don't know that I would have done well with homeschooling because I didn't like my mother, but I would have done better in, if there had been a little communal action where we were getting, because even back then, even though I tended to have, kind of a liberal idea about things, there was definitely a lot of conservative in me, like abortion is murder.
Yeah.
I've had that all my life. It's funny. My dad was my this is weird. My dad was always a lefty. He was Indian, big, leader of the oppressed type of a guy. And oddly, my mother was real conservative growing up. And then when they got divorced, then she found Gloria Steinem or something like that and became a complete lefty wacko. Matter of fact, I found a notebook the other day that she had written some stuff, blah, blah, blah. John McCain, he's such a wonderful man.
Whoa.
And I'm like, holy shit, I cannot get rid of this. I gotta keep that because John McCain was not a good guy.
Were your parents as like skeptical about reality like you are? Or
Oh no,
you developed that on your own?
Oh, that was completely on my own.
Yeah.
No, they were definitely all about conform and fit in, and
so that never sat right with you.
Yeah, they learned very early on that there wasn't going to be none of that going on. But yeah, it was just so weird that all my life around my mom, she was a conservative Republican type, and then she just that's mine. Probably.
Oh, okay, you're good.
She switched to the other side, and loved Barack Obama.
You weren't a Barack fan?
Oh no, he was a CIA plant.
I've heard similar.
He was destined for the job that he stole. Right. And I think if somebody was so inclined, we could find out that elections have been rigged for 30 or 40 years at least, and probably many a case around the country in smaller elections where the fix was in.
Right.
Like as an example, I was a big Ross Perot guy. I liked his idea, and when he dropped out and then got back in, it fucked everything all up, which took all the votes. He got votes, but he took votes away from that CIA bastard Bush Sr. and gave them to Clinton, and that's how Clinton got in.
Shit. So if like Obama was destined, then is Trump the wrecking ball that he seems to be, as far as he did it on his own and wasn't supposed to?
As much as I like portions of Trump stuff, I've never voted for him. The first time I voted for Gary Johnson.
Yep.
In his first election, and in this country, at this time, if you don't vote for one of the two parties, some might call it a wasted vote, and then this past election, I guess the past two elections I didn't vote, the last one, Corky had died like a week before that, so I just wasn't up to it, and I honestly thought that Trump was going to win re-election in 20 to the point where, I just didn't go vote. But no, Trump. Okay, so Trump is a real estate mogul, and he's a New York mogul, and he knows how to be brash and hardcore and do New York deals. But he's not a businessman. You know, all his casinos went belly up. He just, you know, what did I hear the other day? His brain is just a random number generator. And he,
Oh my God.
you know, he wakes up and just says, you know, you've got 10 days to do what I say or you're getting 40% tariff. And 2 days later he says, now you got 3 days and it's going to be 100% tariff. And 2 days after that, okay, we signed a deal, so now the tariff's only going to be 20%. I think he is doing a few good things. I think he's hired a few good people. Bobby Kennedy seems to be overall good, but they're all subservient to the Jews, you know, and Israel specifically, and maybe even more specifically the Zionists. But they, which is crazy, you know, and for the Jews to say that they're the God's chosen people is just a big load of shit when they're going out and committing genocide on their closest neighbor.
How did that happen?
Well, Netanyahu is satanic, and I think there's a lot of satanic shit going on in this world today, and might even be possible that some of the big churches, like say the Catholics, that could be satanic, you know, and not everybody knows it. There's definitely, like, say with the Masons, you know, those lower level Masons, you know, it's a, you know, a philanthropy thing, and they do things for children, or like the Shriners or something like that, where they do good things. But then you get up into those 33rd degrees and whatever's beyond, and you find out that they really are praying to Satan. And I don't think all Jews are bad, but there's some weird shit, and you know, child sacrifice, child rape, child sexploitation, you know, that's gone on for thousands of years, by many different cultures, and you know, some of the leadership of the Jews are into that shit, you know. Some of our leaders are into that shit, you know. Jeffrey Epstein wouldn't have done what he did if there wasn't a call for it, you know. And you know what they've put out to the world and America, you know, is like, oh, they were banging 14-year-olds or 16-year-olds. Well, they were doing that too, but 5-year-olds, 7-year-olds, even infants, you know. And I know we're all over the board here, but
it's all right.
You know, their Planned Parenthood sells body parts, sells, you know, the blood, There's all sorts of different vaccines and medications that have aborted fetus parts in it, and let alone the adrenochrome deal, where these people are literally drinking blood, and that firmly, obviously I've never witnessed it, but I firmly believe that there's too much evidence that is going on, and that, people like Podesta and whatnot, that are into raping babies, or toddlers. And, we've had in this country, let alone when the Bidens were in office, but even prior to that, going back decades, there's been hundreds of thousands of people that go missing, and children that go missing, and it's not all 411 stuff where they just disappear, but they're being snatched off the street, out of their homes, out of their bedrooms, and put into some sort of slavery until they wear them out, and then they kill them, and then they eat them, sell the body parts, whatever.
Yeah, they don't just walk around the corner block and vanish. They go somewhere.
Yeah, there's definitely been some sort of organized fill the pipeline type of a deal, because these once they get the taste, once they get the appetite, they're insatiable. They got to have it. That's like, and I don't know, but like, say Kathy Griffin, for example. You look at a picture of her from 20 years ago, made up. She don't look too bad.
Yeah.
You see her fucking now, she's a wreck.
Looks like a witch.
Yeah, and I think part of that has to do from being, during the pandemic, being cut off from the adrenochrome type of situation.
Then her actual age and everything catches up with her.
Or accelerates, or, puts her at not only her age, but past it.
Yeah, right. The true rotting from the inside comes to the outside.
Exactly.
When you bring up like Satanism, my first thought goes to, like, is this an actual war of good and evil?
100%.
And spiritual bleeding into reality?
100%.
That's where my brain goes.
There's the old saying that Satan's best trick was to convince everybody that he didn't exist. But if you take that even one step further, really, his real trick was to convince that there was no good or evil, and because there is evil, there is good. And there's something about the evil where they are compelled or held their feet to the fire that they have to tell us what they're going to do. If you look like into Bill Gates' shit, or we'll just say Gates, that guy has said many a time, that they're releasing deadly mosquitoes and they're creating deadly vaccinations, to kill off Africans and shit like that. And because of the way everything is going downhill, and the one thing about Trump is he did break through and got out, because pretty much all the other elections in this country, the fix was in, that, okay, George Sr.'s going to be it, or Bill Clinton's going to be it, or Barack's going to be it, or whatever. But Trump truly was an outsider, and the first one was so fucked up because they just couldn't believe it, that they literally spent 4 or 5 years going after, well, actually more than that, 8 years really, and they're still doing it now, going after him, trying to get him on something, just because they don't know any other way to deal with him. So, like, can you imagine how pissed off that guy was when the FBI is going through Melania's panty drawer, that happened shortly after he was out of office. So I just heard yesterday that Letitia James and the one in Georgia, I can't think of her name right now. I just had it too. The Department of Justice has impaneled I'm losing the word. They're going to bring charges. Grand jury has taken evidence against Letitia James, Adam Schiff. Those two they're going after on real estate fraud, and then the one down in Georgia, I think she's actually got the same thing, where some sort of a fraud, but they've impaneled grand juries on all of them, and the grand juries are in jurisdictions that are going to be more friendly to the conservative side, as opposed to, anytime they put Trump up against something, it was against some, crazy left-wing judge that's trying to, make law from the bench.
So, with the in-your-faceness of the evil of the world, is that a level of arrogance, or is that like a command from Supreme Leader to put it in the common folks' face?
For sure.
Does that make sense?
For sure, they're arrogant.
Like, they don't have to show us what they're doing, but they do.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Well, see, I actually think somewhere in the cosmic stuff, the cosmic Bill of Rights or Constitution,
Sure.
that it is actually written into it that for them to try and pull some shit on us, they have to tell us, and most people are so asleep or have their heads in the sand that they hear it and either didn't hear it or just don't believe it. I think there's many people out there that don't believe in evil. They may believe in good, but they definitely don't think there's evil.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I've had this almost similar conversation with a buddy of mine on a much lighter topic, with food, to where they can advertise and brand it any way they want to. They can use whatever colors and text and pictures, but it's like the truth has to be known, and that's when you flip it around and you read the ingredients, that this healthy snack and its first ingredient is high fructose corn syrup.
Right.
They like somewhere on there, and I use the almost exact same argument of like, it's a rule of the universe that evil has to show itself, like somehow or another. It has to be, the truth has to be told, and I related it to a grocery store.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The FDA is probably involved in that somewhere along.
But would you trust the ingredient list?
Oh, no.
You don't trust the ingredient list? I don't trust the anything the box says besides what the ingredient and maybe like the macros.
you need to be eating not out of a box or a can.
I mean, fair enough.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
You need, and even that, think about going to get a piece of fruit or whatever,
It's not just fruit in there.
Guarantee there's some shit on the outside
Sure.
anyway.
Right.
And I do shop, I spend that extra money to get, I guess I do trust a little bit in the label, because I do buy, the higher end, what's the word?
Organic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do buy organic, with like everything I can, really.
Mm-hmm.
Like peanut butter, for an example. And I was just talking to the oldest daughter the other day, and she's like, "Oh, I can't handle that shit," But the organic peanut butter usually has, the best stuff has 2 ingredients:
Peanuts and salt.
peanuts and salt.
Yep.
And I've grown to like it.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Skippy.
Yeah. Hydrogenated vegetable oil.
Yeah, I definitely try to skip hydrogenated oil. And I thought, this is a couple months ago, and I've actually been reading labels for over 20 years. And I was trying to get just some French fries, a bag of French fries.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget what's in there, but they've all got some bullshit in there, that, you can't, if you want French fries, you got to buy a potato and make them yourself.
Yeah.
Type of a deal. But, I can't remember I don't think it's hydrogenated oil, but
It's probably like in the seasoning.
it's something, I checked several different brands and several iterations of them, like tater tots or seasoned fries or regular fries or crinkle, and they've all got shit in it,
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's brand name or not. And you just gotta buy a potato. Yeah, truly the safest way is grow it in your backyard,
Right.
And learn how to can, and have a cow or two,
Yeah.
and buy a freezer.
Learn to like the taste of venison.
Yeah, absolutely. One time up in Minnesota, we got some bear steaks, and it was me, the wife, and the first grandkid, and we didn't tell her until after she'd eaten, and many people have told me, oh, bear is a tough one, to get it to taste right, but these things were delicious, steaks, and we told her, and she was like, "Oh, cool."
Oh, she was into
Oh
it?
yeah, we lived on a farm. We had hundreds of animals, and she was a farm girl, the one that turned into a tranny.
Interesting.
It is interesting.
I heard bears more like, depending on what season, if they're eating a lot of berries, then it's good to eat them. But if it's like winter and they're just, hibernating, but if they're eating a lot of other meat, then their meat isn't as tasty.
That very well could be. They eat a lot of nuts too, so I could, you could understand where berries would season the meat nice,
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if this was a spring bear or not. But yeah, it was good.
Good.
Yeah.
I've never had it. I'd love to. What's a conspiracy, with whatever you want to do with that term, what's a conspiracy that most people are asleep on?
Wow. That Timothy McVeigh and Nichols blew up the Murrah building, or that they were trying to get pedophiles down at Waco.
I know about neither of those.
Okay, so Oklahoma City was supposedly a truck bomb.
Okay.
No way a truck bomb did that damage. That, much like the towers in New York, there was charges in there that went off at the same time.
Like they were planted.
Yeah. Because the whole thing about the Murrow building was that Hillary's was getting ready to. She was already on charges, so they were getting ready to get all the documents on her real estate dealings in Arkansas. Let's see, what's the name? I can't think of the name of that right now, but Whitewater. Well, she was getting ready to come up, and face some real shit on Whitewater, and all those documents in the Murrow building.
Oh, so they needed them gone.
They needed them gone. And and like there was a CIA office and a FBI office in that building. All mysteriously weren't in the building that day. And
very mysterious.
Yeah, there's many an expert that has said. So the truck bomb would have gone into the building, and theoretically, they would have needed to do something inside of the truck to take the energy that was going to come out to the street side to force it back in to do the damage that it did. Whereas if you look at the experts have looked at the damage to the building, and it's all coming out of the building. And so Timothy Vey was obviously involved, but there was also others, and the big one is this Andre Strassmeyer, who was in German intelligence, and they had all been at a place in Arkansas called Elohim City, which was and I use this term with love, right-wing wacko compound, where they had old fat guys running around with rifles and shit. And, but Terry Nichols was for sure involved. And oddly enough, my kid number 2 and her family now live in Harrington, which is the town that they stored the goods in storage in Harrington, Kansas, for the bomb that they made out at the lake that's just outside of town. I forget what it's called.
Whoa.
Might be Harrington Lake. But there was definitely some government involvement in that. Tim McVeigh was pissed off about that, but he was being he had been in the service and wanted to be some sort of a special ops guy, and his record was made to look like he was discharged and just went about his life, when in actuality I think he was actually still in and went and got special training and was being handled and was an operative of, most probably the CIA. I don't know what organization was handling him, but he was definitely part of that. Terry Nichols was his buddy from back in the day in the service, and so I think Tim was, not a bully, but the leader of those two. And so he basically, talked him into doing what he did. There was also a friend of theirs. I think he was also in the service, but not 100%, out from Arizona, where him and his wife were involved. And, it's like with the World Trade Center, the second bombing of the World Trade Center. The plane, the alleged plane,
Mm-hmm.
was 100% destroyed, turned into liquid, but they happened to find 4 passports down the street
Oh my
a
God.
block away to say, oh, here's who it was.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, right. In that scenario, he was pissed off about that. He was pissed off about Ruby Ridge, and then also about Waco. So he was, like I say, being handled, but he was down. To my knowledge, he did not know there was a daycare in there. And I don't know that would have changed what happened, but from what I understand, he did not know there was a daycare.
Collateral damage.
Well, as it turns out, but would he have done it if they had told him from the beginning there was a daycare in there? I don't know.
Do you consider yourself a conspiracy theorist, or is there a better term for where you are? Truther, or I don't know.
No, truther's gay. No, I'm proudly a conspiracy theorist because at least 95% and maybe 100% just wait, because that conspiracy theory will become fact inevitably.
So yeah, by definition, it's an accurate term.
Yeah.
Because it is a conspiracy.
Yeah.
And you have a theory
Yeah.
about it.
And certainly because I just get a lot of info. I don't necessarily, I guess I do research because I get a lot of info, but I'm not necessarily doing raw searching, to find a news source for stuff. Like Alex Jones, he's batting about 950, if not better, on all the stuff that he says. I do think that guy is really connected to God, and that God sends him messages. Here's a little sidebar. Ruby Ridge, you know what that is?
Is that what Alex Jones infiltrated?
No, that's
Bohemian Grove.
Bohemian Grove.
Okay, so no, I don't know what Ruby Ridge is.
Ruby Ridge was a guy named the Weaver family. Okay, so when Clinton was in office, Janet Reno, that lesbian pig, was horrible, had no concern for human life. And Randy was they'd bought 10 acres on a mountain and basically just wanted to be left alone. He went to a couple of white supremacist meetings, didn't really like their shtick, and did not join. And of course the FBI was infiltrated in that and somehow into the white supremacists. And so they saw this Randy Weaver guy, Vietnam vet, and they just started, working on him, an entrapment type of a deal. And what the charge finally came out to be was that he cut the barrel off a shotgun, and what it ended up being, I think it ended up being like just a half inch short, like under an inch short.
Uh-huh.
And so they went and surrounded their compound, but like I say, it was like 10 acres on the top of a mountain. And he had a daughter, an older daughter, like 14, something like that, a son that maybe was like 10 or 12, and then they had an infant. And so they surrounded him. He's like, fuck you, I'm not coming off this mountain. And, because they were trying to arrest him. And there ended up being a shootout. And in the FBI's infinite wisdom, they told their people there that the mother, and I've forgotten what her name was, that she was the leader, and so there's this shootout starts, and they ended up fucking sniping her while she's holding the baby on the fucking front porch. Also shot his son in the back, and now they'd been going back and forth. The daughter survived, and Randy survived. He's since died. But back in the early 2000s, he was doing the gun show tour where, you could go get a picture with him and, get his signature for $20 or whatever the fuck it was.
What year was this?
The shootout on Ruby Ridge would have been 98, I think, 96, 98, in that range. And when I saw him at the gun show tour, it was like 02, something like that.
So they basically just wiped his whole family, but he lived?
But him and I guess the baby survived and the older daughter survived. Damn. So the wife and the son. And so we have or maybe the infant did die too. Because we went with our toddler granddaughter to the gun show, and I have a picture of him holding my granddaughter and me and Corky standing next to him. And he was a good guy, troubled, He was a Vietnam vet, and drank pretty hard, and he was a no bullshit type of guy, good guy, but a guy that you'd rather be on his side than against him.
Yeah.
And he's since died. I don't know if it was cirrhosis or cancer, but he's now passed.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Savige Mungquee, do you believe in God?
Oh yeah. I'm still doing tons of research. Right now my thing is Ethiopian Bible and all the books that were taken out of the King James. Oh, and by the way, King James was an evil man.
As well as his Bible, or is there?
Oh, fuck yeah.
Okay.
So he was a king. He was into bestiality and all sorts of shit, and he would go out on a hunt, kill a bunch of animals, bleed them out, and then roll around naked on the ground in the blood. So you can imagine that a king, with that type of power, say he's got 10 scribes or whatever that are cracking out the King James Bible, and like I say, you can imagine him saying, yeah, I really don't like that one.
Yeah.
Take that out of there. So I believe, I don't really like the term God, because it's used so flippantly around the world. I kind of like infinite creator. And I'm still checking in to a lot of stuff, and, again, my skepticism and my contrarian, leads me to, how do we know this is what this was said?
Mm-hmm.
And when you think about the Old Testament, and what is it, the first 8 books that make up the Torah, all of that was verbal hand-me-downs. They didn't write it down for 1,000 years, 2,000 years, whatever it was. So, and their interpretation of, something in the sky, that could have been a spacecraft, so, and then especially with what's coming out of Israel these days, makes me really skeptical of the beginning books, and then not all of the Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John stuff, that wasn't necessarily written down at the time by them. I think that again is verbal hand-me-downs and then somebody's interpretation. And then when you think about this, Rome back in the day, big, powerful nation city, that was all over, not the known world, but they were all over, right? And so they decide, okay, we're gonna, it's kind of the same thing we're going through right now. We've reduced our money, we've chopped the money up, clipped silver off the silver coins, and their money was going out. They were spread so thin because they were all over, and they decide to, all right, we're going to end this, and then up pops the Roman Catholic Church. Well, it's just an extension of the Holy Roman Empire, to me, and they for sure had an agenda, and I'm not 100% not convinced that they could be, and consequently most other religion, most other Christian religions, that they're actually talking about Satan. I'm not 100% sure. So I'm still gathering information, and like I said, I just finished the Gospel of Thomas, and the next one I'm going to do is Mary Magdalene. And if you think about it, here's two things that I've come across just in the last a 32-year-old Jewish guy that was pretty well yoked, because he'd done all this working, and his dad was a carpenter, but supposedly not real good at it. But he was probably pretty buff, and he was probably married, the Roman Catholic Church has portrayed Mary as a prostitute, when in all actuality she was really probably Jesus's wife. And all those 4 boys that wrote the books, I don't know if all of them said, but at least 1 or 2 of them said, "We know that he loves you most," to Mary. So, and the other thing that one I had thought about for a while, that in that part of the world, 30-year-old men had a woman. They were married, and he was Jewish, so he was probably married. Probably to Mary.
So they swept that one under the rug, or just changed the story up a little bit,
changed
tweaked
it to fit their agenda.
Uh-huh.
But the thing that hit me real hard, 20 years of his life is unaccounted for. He left when he was like 12 or 13.
Okay.
And came back when he was like 30 or something like that.
So what happened?
Where was he? Who were his influences? Did he go to India and get some Dalai Lama or that type of shit?
Mm-hmm.
Buddha type stuff.
Yeah. That's just legit, not in the fossil records. Like
no,
nobody knows.
Nobody knows, as far as I know. As far as I know. I just watched a thing on the Shard of Turin too the other night, and oh my gosh, the evidence they have is super compelling. That one, he was a little bit bigger than most Jewish men at the time. I guess most Jewish men at the time were like 5'6", 5'7", and he was more like 5'10", 5'11", and you can see on the shroud where, he was pretty built, not like your boy Arnold, but he was in good shape.
Yeah.
And the guy that was talking about the shroud, he said that Jesus walked like 20,000 miles in his life. So, yeah. Can you imagine?
No, I cannot imagine.
The legs and the tough feet. He's probably had some tough feet.
Right.
But, yeah, I was really moved by the shroud thing. It's on Tucker.
Okay.
Watch it on Tucker.
His show?
Yeah.
His personal show?
Tucker Carlson Network.
Okay.
He just had a guy on within the last couple of days, and it's a 2-hour show, but it is really compelling. Yeah.
Why did you say that Joseph wasn't a good carpenter?
I've heard that just in the last couple of weeks that he wasn't good at his job, that he was just like he had a hard time finishing jobs, and he was like in over his head.
Huh.
Yeah. I forget where I heard that, but yeah.
I've never heard that before.
I've heard that.
Huh. With religion, do you assign yourself to any denomination?
Oh, fuck no.
Okay.
No.
With a term like infinite creator, I figured not.
Yeah, no. They're all a scam. Some of them are, any of them that, any Christian, any religion that embraces transgender, gay, or abortion, fucking they're out.
Right.
And even the Catholic Church, at this point, it ain't the Catholic Church of the 1960s, and they've certainly got they've got not just a closet, but a coliseum full of bones, as far as like stuff that they've swept under the rug, let alone that, they have, much like the Jews, they have way too much power, and, they got stuff in their archives that, would be very enlightening.
That will never see the light of day?
Probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not.
Do you think it's possible for somebody to have a relationship with the infinite creator without a book?
Oh, yeah. I think the key to that really good relationship is meditation. To be able to, and I'm certainly not there yet, but being able to sit yourself down and, close your eyes and just work on going there. And I think I believe that you can do it.
It makes me go to like the distractions of the world serving another purpose of like, it's really hard to meditate because, for me anyways, and I'm sure for many people, because of Netflix and the distractions and the phone and going to work and everything, it's like really hard to take time to seemingly do nothing and be in silence and sit with yourself and like you said, try to go there. It's like difficult because everything that the world's throwing at you, and it's almost like a hidden byproduct of not only are you distracted and not fighting the powers that are there, but also you can't even connect with a spiritual realm.
Could be part of their plan,
right,
to keep us disconnected. And I certainly agree with you, especially, I've been retired for a few years now, and it's a really different story when you're not concerned with the grind every day, to be able to get yourself into a place where I don't know if the connection's better, but the reception is better.
Ooh.
That you can get there. And, part of my big plan going forward is self-care, just like so many things. And I can remember this, throughout my life, that even if it was something that ultimately only took, say, 30 seconds or 1 minute, because I was such into the grind, I don't have time for that. I don't have time, and to be able to disconnect, you have to make the time, do it every day, and, if the first day, 5 seconds into it, you're thinking about the Ravens game, then, tomorrow go for 10 seconds before you think about Netflix. And, it's just that, our bodies and our brains, our minds, work better through repetition, and yeah.
It's like a big muscle. You got to keep working it out.
Yeah, and my big thing is coming up with this, but I'm still not, I don't feel cut loose yet, because I have this connection with you and your place, and I'm not really on the road yet.
Right. I was going to say, that's like when tires hit the road. That's when the braking is going to happen.
Yeah. And, I'm going, to like, well, just like One of the things that I started since Corky died was before I leave the room, I'm going to make my bed every day. And so today I didn't make it because I need to get under the bed. There's a big storage area underneath the bed, and I need to look and see what's in there. But yeah, and then because of where another thing I came up with is, all right, to get to the front room, I got to walk through the bathroom. So every morning after I make my bed, I'm right there. I got to brush my fucking teeth.
Nice. Yep.
You know, and so just developing that type of habit. Another thing I've been doing is, and I used to be into yoga pretty hard out in Colorado, but then I tore up my shoulder and I couldn't support my weight anymore. So now that I'm finally back in good enough shape that I can start yoga again, I will. But in bed in the morning after I wake up, I lay in there and I've been stretching my feet and each of my toes by taking my hand and like pushing on all the toes and then pushing on each toe individually, forward and backward. Nice. To where my toe, and it's, you know, it's going to be stretching that out. And then also I've got a billiard ball and a golf ball that you put on the floor and run it around in your arch, and that loosens up that material too, to make you a little better stretched out.
Yeah, it's like the small daily disciplines that stack over time.
Yeah, and just doing that, you know, and, you know, it's funny. I'm very good about taking my doctor pills, but I'm not good about taking my vitamins, you know, and I've also got, I didn't like the way my NutriBullet was working, so I bought this high performance NutriBullet, you know, like a bigger, like double the wattage or whatever, and I used it about twice, and it's like I've got all sorts of powder to mix into a smoothie, so that's going to be part of the agenda as well. I've been doing pretty good on intermittent fasting as well, where like last night I didn't eat, and my first meal was at 7:30 at night.
Damn.
Yeah, so I'd gone from like 6 o'clock the day before to 7:30 at night.
That's almost a 24-hour fast.
Oh, it was, and I've been doing some peptides lately.
Yeah.
Some injectable peptides, and those seem to be helping. So yeah, self-care, you know, and God, I thought that term was gay, you know, but truly, that's what it is, you know, and, you know, you get the old temple lined up, and your brain's going to work better, you know, you're going to be a better asset to the world, you know, by having, you know, your body, you know, with no excess.
Yeah. I've always thought it's way harder to follow a fat leader than it is like somebody who, like, you can't even watch what you eat, or you know, you're so pathetic that you're 300 pounds and you're trying to lead people. And
so when I was growing up, so my mom's dead now, but she was on doctor drugs forever, you know, and back in the 60s she was like taking speeders and was fucking crazy, you know. But I've always had a problem with fat people. And I've certainly been fat at different points in my life, but yeah, I have a problem with fat people.
like a disgust.
That's probably the low level of it.
Oh shit.
Well, like my oldest daughter is probably a taco light of $4, and absolutely 100% takes no responsibility for it. And you can't tell her nothing. And, so the family I grew up in and the way our family works is, okay, if I shoot straight and tell her how the cow eats the cabbage, then she'll cut me off and we won't talk. So to me, in the relationships with my family, and it's not a good thing, but it's better to just not say anything and talk dirty about them after you're alone or after you've left them than to confront them and it just all go to shit.
Yeah. Do you think willful ignorance is a sin?
It depends on the intellect. Willful ignorance of somebody with 100 or 120 or more IQ, yeah. But then again, like, my sister is a commie and has a doctorate's degree and like gender studies or some stupid shit like that, and she doesn't know all the shit that I know about conspiracy facts, and more than likely doesn't have the time or the interest to learn about it, so I guess I guess no, willful ignorance, that's not a sin. I think that if you get the information and turn your back on it, then that's a sin. But anybody that now could think, and we can wrap this up whenever.
No, you're fine. I'm just making sure everything's still recording.
Anybody that thinks that the COVID vaccines were good for you, they're a lost cause.
Because they know the information and they still want to believe that.
I don't know if they know the information, but there's so much out there, and there's been so much death related to it that
how can you say it was a good thing?
Yeah. And Bobby Kennedy just squashed all the money for the mRNA research just within the last week or so. So as far as the type of stuff that they were working on now, we're not going to get any of that. So that's good. And he's been an anti-vaxxer for quite a while, but I think he was, I don't know, either biding his time or didn't want to come out from word jump, with his guns blazing about all the shit that he really knows, because he would, it would have turned a lot of people off.
Yeah.
And then again, he is a Kennedy, so you can't trust that family. It's, just another one of the families that, you don't trust.
Yeah.
Although he's probably one of the better ones.
Seems to be. Well, let's segue here a little bit.
All
So
right.
Your wife died not quite a year ago.
Yeah.
And that was that's how we met.
Yeah.
Our mutual connection.
Yeah.
Just a shout out to her, like what an amazing person she was. And I've said before, like, I just feel fortunate that I got to know her at all. You know, just, it was a short time, 5-6 years, well, less than 6, 5 years.
Yeah.
And just feel very fortunate that I knew her. So and it seems like you two had like such a great thing, and I always love seeing how you guys interact and just the stories you tell. And What an awesome woman.
Thank you on her behalf. And truly, like all my life, all my married life, all my buddies and their women, were possibly a tinge jealous because of the relationship she and I had. And, and Corky, oddly fit in better with the boys than she did with the girls. And she, I always knew, and we always talked about, how good we were for each other, and I knew, but I think even, since her death, that I've realized even more what a truly unique and good human she was, and it's, we believed in reincarnation, and we believe it's, like a level system, level 1 is like trees and grass, and level 2 is like animals and stuff like that, and then like we're at 3rd density right now. And I almost believe that she had her shit together enough that she might have gone on, not to be reincarnated in 3rd density, but maybe even higher.
4th and above.
4th and above,
Yeah.
Quite possibly.
She was a beacon of light.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
She had a good soul, and it's so funny because her whole family is a bunch of shitters, and how did she come out like that?
Right.
And I was, I don't know, black sheep, stupid, but I was more of the outcast of my family too, and I definitely became a better person from having been around her. And we were married 40 years, and we were together 41 years. Here's a good one. The first 3 months we lived together, she was married to another guy, and I was married to another girl.
And you were living together already?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, it worked out.
It worked out. And I think she would say, and I would think I would say, that she probably should have pushed back on me a little bit more. I was definitely the alpha,
The corruption?
No, she brought her own corruption.
Okay.
No, we both had our own corruption. She actually, truth be told, did not graduate from high school because she called in a bomb scare like a month before school was supposed to get out. So yeah, she brought her own corruption.
The last thing I'd expect, knowing how I know her.
Yeah,
that's wild.
Yeah, we got stripes. We got stripes. I'm certainly a better man from having been with her. I'm in a better place in life now that I've been with her.
Yeah.
And what I thought of once or twice over the last 6 months, because my plan for the road has been a 6-month plan basically, and a couple times I've thought it would have taken me a while to get her talked into it, but how much fun doing this thing with her would have been.
Yeah.
That because the old man still needs to get laid. But it just although we quit drinking, I don't know, 10, 11 years ago, we were our best drinking buddies, and we just liked spending time with each other. A 3-day weekend, when the kids were out of the house and we could go do whatever we wanted. We just loved that.
Go booze cruising and
enjoy
the weekend.
Enjoy the weekend, Start early.
Absolutely lovely woman. We, always wish she rest in peace and have that for her. But that comes to you being a solo again. And so you've decided to buy a massive RV and take it on the road.
Yes.
So as part of your 6-month plan, what does maybe like the next 6 months look like?
By the way, I couldn't help myself. I bought another gun yesterday.
You just auctioned off.
I just auctioned
all
off.
of your.
I just auctioned off like 10 guns
and everything you own.
Yeah, and everything I own, and I'd been wanting a hunting rifle, and I'd never had a 30-06, and I got a deal on a 30-06.
Local?
Yeah, down in Arkansas.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go pick it up tomorrow or Monday.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it is. So I'm really excited. The next 6 months, I'm going to go to Arkansas to pick that stuff up. Head to Tahlequah because I have Cherokee heritage, and I was going to take off last week, but I've ended up staying at your place, and it's worked out really great. But part of the reason for wanting to start the trip on Monday is my connection to Cherokee is through my father, and his 91st birthday would have been Monday. So I thought that was a apropos good karma type of day to start the journey. And that's the great thing about being retired is I might spend a day and be done with it, or I might spend a week and really dive deep. But then the second stop is the diamond mine in Arkansas, because that was one of the things that Cork and I always talked about, and we and even as close as we are now, we just never made it down there. And so I got all the gear I need, and the big thing is to go the good thing is to go the day after a rain. So I'm going to try, because it loosens up the top layer, So I'm going to go during the week, which theoretically should be less busy than the weekend, and try and hope for rain. And I don't even. The funny thing is finding a diamond would be great, obviously, but I don't even have the desire really to find a diamond. It was just that, Cork and I were going to do it, and I want to do it to say I've done it. And then, the tentative plan is to hit Texas. And I had kind of thought, and ultimately may end up in Texas, but with this big RV that I've got, I was just thinking the other day, and I mentioned this to you, that I could get an acre or two, live in the fucking RV. It's got a 6.5 kilowatt fucking generator in it, and all I'd really need to worry about is water and dumping the black stuff. Yeah. And I suppose if I did that, I'd build an outhouse, but that's the plan, and Texas. That's the great thing about this country, is it's so big, and has so much, I hate to use the term, but diversity in, landscape and weather, and, where Europeans, they have to go visit this place or that place, whereas we got mountains, we got ocean, we got, big fields, we got forests, we got everything here.
Yeah.
And another cool thing that I did, lifetime pass for a senior to all the national parks, $80.
Dang.
So
That's a deal.
I got one of them, and then I also got this thing, sponsor us if you'd like, called On X, where they have all this stuff where you can like park 100 foot off a gravel road or dirt road or something like that, and you can stay there for like no charge. So it's got all these maps of the whole fucking country of places that you can just pull over and stay, and ultimately, I'm hoping like that once a week, get water and drain the tanks, in a park or something like that, RV park.
Yeah.
But most of the time just be roughing it, with what the RV itself will do.
Yeah. I bet you'll be roughing it a good bit. I'm excited to keep up with you and see how it goes.
Well, my plan is to take pictures, like every day of, for sure critters, but just cool stuff, because all my whole life as a family and later on after, we were always in a fucking hurry to get to the destination and never really pulled over to the side of the road to see the alligator park or
smell the roses.
Yeah, or whatever. But yeah, so I'm not imagining any 400-mile days or even any 300-mile days. I'm more thinking of like, maybe 50, maybe 150.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Right.
2 max. I've checked the other day, it's only 2 hours to Tahlequah from here, and so take an hour to hit Arkansas and then cross back over, and I'll still be there in like 2.5 or less.
Yeah, no time at all.
Yeah, so that, that's mellow. And good thing gas prices are going down, so that'll be helpful, because that thing has a healthy thirst.
I got a few more for you here, and then we'll wrap this up.
All right.
I'm 32 right now.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to today's 30-somethings?
Oh, gosh. I really think the looking in the mirror thing is important, and to study yourself and to think about, give a couple seconds to how'd I do yesterday, but look toward what I got going today, being infinite creator centered, God centered, to where it's an important part of your life for you, working on that, the new relationship with your woman, but especially with your son, to get that established, that he likes being around you and you like being around him.
Right.
And, don't ask him, tell him, come on, we're going to town. And I think that's important. Believe nothing that they tell you and only half that you see. because, and maybe even less that you see, because with AI, it could all be a scam. I mean, it could really be a
very
scam.
convincing one.
And so, take some time for yourself. Obvious, you have to have time for your woman, but take some time for yourself, for that self-care, whether it's, just relaxing and catching your breath. If you like to lift weights, do your weights. You've got a pretty active lifestyle right now, so that'll work out for you. But you're coming into the off season to where some of that exercise that you're getting at work right now is going to wrap up. So, exercise every day, whether it's, whatever you like to do, do something,
Yeah, we just got her signed up on the family gym membership. So
Oh, cool.
We're looking to start integrating that back in now that I'm not on 50 some hour weeks.
Great.
Yeah.
I would recommend that you kiss at the door and go separate ways. Don't go to the machines together, or don't unless she needs some,
I see what you mean.
Unless she needs some coaching,
right,
on as far as like, how do I do this machine, that type of a thing. That's fine, but let her get her own thing going and get her own exercise, and you get yours.
I like that because it's not a meditation, but in a similar sense, it is like a introspective time to where you can find out a lot about yourself when you're in a deep sweat. And
do they have a sauna?
They don't have a sauna, unfortunately.
Yeah,
I thought about putting one in the garage, though.
Boy, I highly recommend that.
Yeah.
And these days they've been talking a lot about infrared too.
Yeah.
But getting a sweat on, yeah, that's really, really good for you. And I know you don't eat a lot of super junky food, so, but
could always be cleaned up.
You can always be cleaned up.
Yeah.
And take some time for yourself. Read every day. Whether it's a Bible, read what you like, and if you like novels, read a novel. If you like history books, do that, but spend some time reading every day. I think, if it's on the shitter, if it's to help put you to sleep, whatever it is, reading is good,
I like that.
Yeah.
If Corky were here today, what would her message to the world be?
Ooh. Well, I think she really believed in the therapy of getting dirt under your nails,
Yep.
and taking care of your yard, that type of a thing.
So get some sunlight and getting the dirt.
Yeah, sunlight and dirt. And she was kind of a social butterfly, so she liked people. I don't like people that much, so we were different in that regard. But that gave her special time to where she could go do that. I think she would be of the same ilk that, don't trust them, don't believe anything they say, and only half of what you see. And like I said, maybe less, maybe down to 25% of what you see. But, I think she'd advocate for having a beer,
Sure.
Maybe not quite as many as we had, but, at least one now and again.
Yeah. That's good. I'm a brewer. Savige Mungquee, I really appreciate our friendship.
Yeah,
I'm really happy that we met under any circumstance. I'm just happy that,
I
you know,
am too.
I know of you and that we've kicked it off and had a good thing going. So I wish you very well on the road, safety and everything that you're looking for. I hope it finds you. Do you have anything that you'd like to end with?
You are my son, Luke.
Savage Mungquee, thank you for your time. You're welcome back anytime. There's actually stuff that I didn't even hit on here, so
Okay.
we could do a whole nother one
Okay.
next time you're in town or something if you're
All
up
right.
for it. But
Sounds great.
wish you well, man.
Thank you.
Thank you all for listening, and tune in for the next one. See you later.